Featuring just 84 new cards before Secret Rares, Pitch Black will be available on July 16th in Pokemon TCG Live. While I blab about nonsensical things and probably mention feed at some point, you'll find every single one of them on screen. Obviously, the worst translation change is going from Ghost Veil in Japanese to Hide and Sneak in English for the abilities on Banette, Sinistcha, and their pre-evolutions. While you won't see it here, they do kind of make up for it by changing Slowpoke's Unlimited Disposal to All You Can Yeet in English. At the very least, I'll take that over Sudowoodo's Trials and Tribulations any day. Sticking with Slowpoke, yes, Mega Slowbro EX is in Pitch Black alongside 5 other Megas. And if you're wondering about the 80 hit point Slowpoke that can't be confused, it's included as a blister promo. Along with Excadrill, Darkrai, Chandelure, Zeraora, and Slowbro, the other Mega is Delphox. Like Slowbro, this was a gym promo in Japan, which explains its low power level. Unfortunately, where some of the Megas are playable, the 4 regular EXs kinda suck. Lurantis requires too much work, Wailord's funny but still kind of a meme, Morpeko is more disappointing than my dog when he sniffs the butt of another dog with an ugly owner, and Rampardos, well, it might be annoying. For the last section, Shadowy Darkness and Voltaic Lightning likely represent the last type-specific special energy, meaning Colorless and Dragon probably aren't getting any. As for trainer card name changes in English, you'll see that Fossil Excavation Site is now Fossil Quarry. Elsewhere, Retry Badge is Backtrack Badge, Misty's Energy is Misty's Vitality, Gladion's Decisive Battle is Gladion's Final Battle, and Heroic Bomb is Tremendous Bomb, which is also what you could call Supergirl. Hopefully I dragged my feet across a puddle of lotion long enough for you to see every single card coming in Pitch Black. If not, you're in luck because I'm going to briefly talk about each and every one right now. Of those 6 Megas in Pitch Black, Excadrill and Chandelure lead the way. You'll want a 3-2 line of Excadrill, as this guy can deal 330 damage if it has 5 energy attached. Matang fulfills the energy acceleration, while Drilbur helps fill up your bench if you whiff a turn 1 Petrol for Trolley. And if you're worried that 330 is short of a KO on some Megas out there, Kieran boosts the damage by 30. As for Mega Chandelure, while it will struggle against basic heavy decks due to Latias EX giving all basics free retreat, against evolution decks it's super strong. For each Mega Chandelure you have down, their active's retreat cost is up by 1 pip. And yes, pip is the official name. Then for each pip in their retreat cost, Mega Chandelure does 50 more damage plus the 130 base of Phantom Maze. So you're able to KO pretty much everything with 2 or 3 Chandelure in play. Something that's very doable thanks to Lampent's attack putting up to 3 Lampent from deck directly onto the bench. Add in the Fire Chandelure and you have a really strong deck. Just be aware that you need at least a 4-4-3 line, so it's not cheap. Darkrai and Zeraora are the next tier down, landing in the semi-playable but not must-own category. By playing Dark Bell, you confuse their active. This allows Mega Darkrai to one-shot them provided they don't have a Mist or Rocky Fighting attached. Obviously, being able to instantly KO anything is strong, but Darkrai is pretty one-note. You have to play it with Toxtricity since it requires 3 Darkness, whereas Mega Absol, who has a similar one-shot attack, can be powered up with Crispin. If we lived in a world without Absol, Darkrai would be the stuff of nightmares. Instead, like a Chihuahua, it's just an inferior dog. Mega Zeraora, meanwhile, has 0 aura due to the fact that the energy has to be attached to itself. Sure, there's Electric and Scramble Switch and Transformation Tome and Mega Oddno to make it work. But I'd much rather use Magnetric if I'm going the Lightning Mega route, or Zekrom if I just want a hard-hitting Lightning type EX. Last and least, there's Delphox and Slowbro. The issues with Mega Delphox I had upon first reveal still remain. You might look at the first attack and think it's insane, filling up your bench with stage 2s like Delphox and Emboar and Togekiss. But think of it another way. You're doing nothing turn 1. Then on turn 2, if everything goes right, you're dealing 0 damage with the 3-prizer. So against somebody like Raging Bolt, it's likely they've taken 4 prizes before you've launched a single attack. As for Slowbro, you can chuck a single copy into your existing Slowking deck. The attack one-shots Dragapult with Clefairy in play, while also retaliating for 120 damage if somebody hits into it next turn. So against Thwackey Dipplin, they lose both of their attackers. Aside from that though, Slowking has proved it strong on its own and doesn't really need the Mega. While I can delude myself into thinking all the Megas in Pitch Black are somewhat playable, the same can't be said for the regular EXs. You'll see Wailord in my Road Decks video, but the strategy has more holes than a Cheese Raider. Misty's Vitality accelerates 4 water at the cost of ending your turn. Wailord's Falling Down attack requires 5 and puts it to sleep. So you need to Misty and attach a Bubbly Water to Wailord, hoping at no point that your opponent KOs the weak Wailmer you gave that 4 energy to. And even then, 270 is coming up short on Dragapult. So you basically have to play Maximum Belt, which will just get shut off by their Jamming Tower. Morpeko EX could have been good. Unfortunately, Risky Ruins doesn't activate on Dark types, so you're missing out on 2 damage counters. Toxtricity does accelerate energy and place 2 damage counters, meaning you can put 4 damage counters on this guy pretty easily. Okay, hold on to your butts because trust your pilot has to do math. Hangry Blaster deals 40 base damage plus 40 more for each damage counter on Morpeko. Sinister Surge twice, and you're left with a 140 hit point 2 prizer who's only dealing 200 damage. Accelerate a third energy, which requires 3 Toxtricity. Now Morpeko has 120 HP and does 280 damage. Yeah, it's just way too much work for too little payoff, especially on someone who's so weak. I've seen people who think Lurantis EX is good. They are wrong. Sure, 260 damage for a single energy is strong, but pretend you're Spock and think about it logically. Lurantis doesn't have an ability, yet it has to have been healed that turn to deal the extra 200 damage. So you have to play Risky Ruins or Emolga. Except then you also have to play a way to heal it, likely with Shuckle or Hydrapple EX. Except that's a hell of a lot of work for 260 damage when Hydrapple's already great on its own. Finally, Rampardos. Thanks to the new Fossil Quarry Stadium, which puts fossils directly into play, and its ability, Rampardos has potential. But you pretty much have to pair it with Bastiodon to have any success. Rampardos' ability is a Crushing Hammer for their active. Bastiodon forces their active to have at least 3 energy attached to deal damage. So if you get a lot of head, it's viable. I think my main issue is Rampardos' attack. It only does 150 damage. While it is increased to 300 next turn, if they boss up somebody on the bench, the damage on Rampardos is reset back to 150. So the fact that it relies on coin flips and your opponent not knowing how to read makes me put it in the maybe category for now. Also, a Grass Weakness in an Ogerpon Clefairy world, especially when you can't even KO an Ogerpon, is concerning. Let's pretend like I'm Pete Davidson and you're every actress and break this up, moving to the trainers and special energy. I'm excited for the future of lightning types, and it all starts with Voltaic energy. Attach it to any lightning Pokemon, they deal 20 extra damage. The biggest benefitter is Mega Magnetric, who can now one-shot things with 210 hit points. Pikachu EX also gets a boost, KOing Dragapult without needing to play with its balls. Absolutely get 2 of them. As for Shadowy Darkness energy, it's too situational. Yes, the effect is great, protecting the Darkness Pokemon it's attached to from bench damage. But typically when you attach special energy to a Pokemon, it's because you intend to attack with it. Shadowy is the opposite. Plus, what if you don't face any decks that deal bench damage? It's just an energy you can really only find with Hilda or Colress that can't be accelerated by Toxtricity. Not to mention Enhanced Hammer gets rid of it easily. Again, good effect, it's just not particularly useful. When it comes to the trainers in Pitch Black, things are a little muddled. A lot of them are playable, it's just that almost all only fit into 1 or 2 decks rather than having universal usage like Lilies or Ultra Ball. Still, I think it's worth owning for Fossil Quarry. After all, this basically acts as a buddy poppin' for fossils, meaning Badoo doesn't completely stop you from playing the game. It also revives a lot of strategies, including tier 2 to punishing item heavy decks, with Tyrantrum offering up a 330 hit point single prizer if you attach a special energy. Even if it wasn't the only one, I could confidently say that Fossil Quarry is the best new stadium coming in Pitch Black. As for tools, there's 2 in Backtrack Badge and Tremendous Bomb. Backtrack Badge allows colorless Pokemon to reflip coin-based attacks, meaning Mega Audino and Kangaskhan suddenly get a lot better. Or there's the invincible Unpheasant and even Larry's to Dunsparce, who will still somehow disappoint you. Tremendous Bomb, meanwhile, can be ignored. If the non-Mega Pokemon it's attached to is dealt 240 or more damage by a Mega, the Mega takes 12 damage counters to the face. Sure, slap it on a Wailord or Archaludon, it might do something. But a surprising number of Megas do less than 240 damage, while someone like Absol might not even deal damage in the first place. Not to mention Tool Scrapper and Jamming Tower exist, so skip this one for now. Believe it or not, there's only 1 new item card in Pitch Black. Okay, technically there's 3, but 2 of them are fossils. Anyway, Dark Bell is something you should own a copy of. It's nothing special, confusing both active non-dark types. However, it could force them to retreat when they don't want to or flip through confusion. I've seen some Dragapult lists in Japan play it, and that makes me angrier than seeing someone wear socks at the beach. Let me quickly say that Jet might be one of the worst supporter cards ever printed. It's literally Morty's conviction if he was acquitted. As for Rust Syndicate Grunt, only Control or Dragapult players will want this. It's guaranteed energy discard, which has been strong in the past. Thankfully, it can't be activated unless one of your Pokemon was just knocked out. Sadly, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a factor at some point in the next 2.5 years. What will be strong on day 1 is Gwyn. Play with the lady who has a Chandelure on her head who can't actually interact with Mega Chandelure, and you draw 3 cards for each non-rulebox Pokemon discarded from hand up to 2. Most of the usage is going to come from hide and sneak decks, but she could also be useful in someone like Mega Chandelure to clear out some Litwick after you Lampented, or Festivalite if you're full up on Thwackey. While it was meant for the Slowbro deck, Gladion's final battle cracks Festivalite like a butt. With a full bench, Brave Bangle and Gladion, Diplin's dealing 210 damage twice, which just so happens to be the magic number in Standard right now. You only need 2 copies though. Misty's Vitality, however, can be skipped. Yes, she's practically the only way to make Wailord EX work, and in theory, she helps Dewdon become relevant. But the first time somebody bosses up whoever you just gave that 4 energy to, you'll delete the deck and never return. The first thing you need to do when Pitch Black comes out is stretch, because beating off scalpers is hard work. The second thing is getting 4 copies of Dhelmise. It can one-shot Dragapult if Clefairy's in play, all for a single Psychic. You just need to play a little bit of hide and sneak. Since Dhelmise requires at least 4 hide and sneakers in the discard pile to deal 170 damage, you'll also need some of those. Except here's where it gets a little tricky. The easy thing is to just buy 4 of each, but you can get by with 4 Shuppet, 3 or 4 Banette, and 2 each of Poltchageist and Sinistcha. Really, the only time you'd need to max out on sneakers is if you want to play Spiritomb. This guy requires 13 in the graveyard to quadruple the damage counters on 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Like Mason Miller, this is a great closer. It just requires a lot of work. Still, being able to hit into 2 Megas early with Dhelmise, then instantly KO them late with Spiritomb is the stuff of dreams. If any part of you is interested in playing Mega Chandelure, you have to own 1 copy of Marshadow. Its attack is weak, sure, only dealing 30 damage for each pip in their retreat cost, but that can be enough to deal with lower HP single prizers if you have a Chandelure or 2 in play. It's kind of a similar story for Chi-Yu. The card's not really amazing in any way, but put a single copy in a Toxtricity deck, now you have an easy way to deal 110 damage for 1 energy, one-shotting things like Munkidori. And if a Badoo gets frisky with you, making you itchy afterwards, that also activates Chi-Yu's whole needing 2 damage counters on itself. I'm recommending 2 copies of Bastiodon. And since it's a fossil, you'll want 3 copies of Anti-Armor Fossil so you can evolve into it. When Bastiodon's on your bench, your opponent's Pokemon need at least 3 energy attached to deal damage. Yeah, not super fun to play against. One thing about Bastiodon is that it's not solely a control card. You can pair it with Mega Chandelure to buy yourself some time, trying to outspeed them with somebody who hits hard and draws cards. But yeah, Crushing Hammer and somebody like Iron Thorns EX means Standard could get even less fun than facing 10 Dragapult decks in a row. And for the final Pokemon you want to own, it's the entire Toucannon line. Whether it's your card drawer, your main attacker, or your backup attacker, this is probably the best card in Pitch Black no one's talking about. Fan Rotom can grab your Pikipek with Toucannon swinging for up to 260 damage as early as turn 2 if both sides of the fields are full, all for any energy. So not only is it a way to KO every 2 prize basic out there, with Brave Bangle and Gravity Mountain, even Dragapult can be dealt with. Get a 4-3-4 line as well as a box of Fruit Loops. For a new segment, I've decided to talk briefly about the single prize Pokemon worth thinking about but maybe not owning. If you want, you can build a solo deck with Relicanth and a bunch of fossils. Have a full bench of them, Fossil Beatdown deals 160 damage for any energy. Otherwise, after a Fossil Quarry activation, Relicanth's dealing 70 damage, enough to one-shot Dreepy and a whole lot of other weak basics. I wanted to include Baby Manectric in the buy category, but then I thought about it. Walling Evolutions isn't great when you only deal 50 damage, meaning Munkidori spanks you. Festival Lead's really the only matchup where Manectric helps, but that's provided Lightning lives up to my expectations. And I'm still not expecting that to happen until 30th Celebration in September. Still, if you pull one in a Pitch Black pack, don't immediately throw it away like a Starly who doesn't know Aerial Ace. Thanks to Telepathic Psychic Energy, Slowking decks use the 80 hit point Slowpoke. The new 70 hit point one works with Poffin, but I'm not sure that's enough to bother. That being said, it's another option if you wanted to increase your chances of turn 1 Slowpoke. Since we've only received 12 or 13 Charcadet cards in the past few years, another one arrives in Pitch Black. I don't think it's replacing any of the current ones since it can't be Poffined and the attack is a coin flip. Armarouge, however, can be a road deck, dealing up to 240 damage if you have a full bench of Pokemon with fire energy attached. But that requires a pairing with Spidops or Glass Trumpet and will probably suck. Instead, if you're a Ceruledge EX player, test out a single copy of Armarouge for the Crustal and Festival Lead matchups. For all the single prize Pokemon that aren't worth owning, I'll go in set order, starting with Old Bananachin. Tropius will see a ton of play in Pitch Black pre-releases, grabbing every Pokemon from the top 6 cards of your deck. Outside of that format, it'll be sent straight to the bulk bin. There's a few ways to burn your opponent's active in Standard, be it with Volcanion, Volcarona, Magcargo, or good old Dangerous Laser. And Heatran even has access to Heavy Baton to recycle energy. But burn is a coin flip between turns, so they flip heads, sucks to be you. Or if they retreat or switch, you lose. Or if they're playing Monkey Dory, that's a big uh-oh. Heatran's a fun idea, sure, but not actually feasible. Speaking of, I don't know what the hell the Pokemon Company was thinking with Sizzlipede. It's the only card in Pitch Black with the Bug Panic attack, so we have to wait and see if Delta Rain adds any more. Except that doesn't come out until November. Naturally, the Centistorch it evolves into sucks. Maybe some crazy person will put Seeking into a Wailord EX deck with Heavy Baton to suck up energy, sniping a lot of damage at the end of a game. Aside from that, you'll probably never see this. Same with Primarina, who finally gets a new card after all these years. Except its ability isn't that useful. We already have Daxbun and Wally's Compassion for healing. Primarina's a stage 2 that yes can fully heal anybody, but it's way too much work. Wailord would much rather eat some ice cream than listen to this max melody. While Palafin deals 280 damage, it's only if your opponent has exactly one prize card left, and it requires 2 water. Palafin EX only needs 1, and the deck is built with low counts of energy, so getting 2 on the baby Palafin is tougher than Tauros Jerky. If the EX was a better deck, this would see use. It's not, so it probably won't. Another road deck candidate, the new Vikavolt, does 280 damage with Giga Railgun, provided it has a Voltaic Lightning Energy attached. The only reason you can even think about playing this is the old Charge-a-Bug. It also has a water duplicates attack like Lampent, instantly benching Charge-a-Bug. Add in some electric for energy acceleration and watch as Dragapult still destroys you. There's a couple issues with Miraidon. Yes, the ability is nice preserving 2 lightning energy, but you have to get 2 lightning on a weak single prizer in the first place. So you still need electric, removing Miraidon's potential as a turn 1 attacker. Hurting itself also sucks, meaning you're basically making a Dragapult player's life easier. Jinx's effect of discarding your opponent's active at the end of their next turn has existed for millennia. No one ever uses it because retreating, evolving, or switching nullifies it. Whatever the opposite of power creep is, that's what happened to Annihilate. A few years ago, this Dragapult existed in Standard, dealing more damage with a better ability. Instead of being fully protected against damage, Annihilate only survives with 10 hit points if you flip heads. And they couldn't even be bothered to give us a decent Mankey or Primeape either. There's several reasons why I don't think the 0-card hand archetype will succeed. First and foremost, what do you do if you blew your entire load, taking a knockout in the process, but then get an energy off the prizes and an energy off your top deck? Exactly, you lose unless Academy at Night is on the field. So even with Slowbro dealing 210 damage, Thievul copying their active, Silvally getting any supporter if you have 0 cards in hand, and Slowpoke having the all-you-can-yeet attack, there's a very minimal chance anyone does anything with these Pokemon. So no, this is not the second coming of Granbull. I know where I fit on Koraidon, but where exactly does Koraidon fit in Standard? Aside from hitting for weakness, the first attack is worse than Solrock's, and the second attack forces a discard of all energy, yet you're much better off running Baby Bloodmoon or Saluna. Mandibuzz meanwhile snipes boners, which wouldn't even be that good if it did 140 damage. It's a similar story with Malamar. It only does 130 damage if they're confused, meaning Dark Bell is a necessity, except 130 is not even good. Another inferior Pitch Black Pokemon is Zarude, who you wouldn't choose over Brute Bonnet or Surviper, requiring 3 energy and Shadowy Darkness on the bench to deal 170. Then there's 2 cards that have similar yet opposite effects. The only thing that will get stiff when they see this card is Badoo. If you use Diving Headbutt, Mabostiff takes 100 extra damage next turn, meaning it's one shot by Itchy Pollen. Bronzong takes 100 less, which doesn't matter since Dragapult plus 1 Monkey Dory knocks you out. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, it's both the set sizes and power level that's dropped for new sets in 2026. Skarmory isn't completely useless. You could put a copy into Archaludon EX for both an early attack and a way to get energy in the discard pile. But between Prism Tower and Ultra Ball and all those discard supporters, it doesn't seem necessary. And finally, Bombardier. If you flip 2 heads, you can put any Pokemon from deck directly onto your bench. Even I'm not crazy enough to try this, and I've been playing TCG Live for 4.5 years straight. I know the cards are in Japanese, but this is the best way to view all the cards worth owning in Pitch Black. You'll also find a copy and pastable list of the cards in the description, which can be put into TCG Live beginning on July 16th at 10 AM Pacific, 1 PM Eastern. And thanks to the new Exchange All feature, which only took 4 years to arrive, you can click one button and own them all. We'll have to wait until July 9th to know the 2 free decks on TCG Live, reducing the crafting cost. For now, set aside 10,000 trade credits for all the best cards, which is a number practically unheard of in the Mega Evolution block. Or you can save your money, keep playing Dragapult, and farm wins all day. Your choice.